pigeons.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of our post-cabinet press briefing. It is Wednesday, the 30th of August. This morning we have two very important presentations, one from the Minister of Education and Youth, the Honorable Favour Williams, and one from specifically the Minister of Transport today, the Honorable Darrell Vaz. I'll now invite Minister Vaz. First, I want to also welcome members of the media who are here today, also welcome you, our viewers online, listening and viewing us. Minister Vaz has a very important presentation for the back-to-school season and transportation. Minister Vaz.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, to all the viewers. I thought it prudent to give a brief update, especially in relation to the transport arrangements for the back to school, because obviously that will be a critical part of a successful return to school for September morning. You will recall that we had the 50 buses arrive in Jamaica last week, Friday, and I'm pleased to say that we were able to clear them on the weekend, and we are now in the process this morning of licensing them for them to be able to go out for the weekend to the various depots to be available for Monday morning. I want to commend the JUTC staff for working tirelessly to get to this point, because as you know, those 50 buses are crucial. Just to recall and reiterate, we were at a run-out or a rollout of 140 buses up to a few weeks ago. Obviously, the optimum is about 400 buses, so you can understand the frustrations of the public passenger. So, as of right now, based on emergency procurement of spare parts, we have been able to restore and rehabilitate 125 buses, which gives us 265 buses without the 50 new buses. With the 50 new buses, we will have 315 buses on the road for back to school. This obviously will alleviate a lot of the frustration and of course the waiting time, which has been up to 2.5 hours for certain routes. The new bus allocation, the Portmore Depot will get 3 34-seater disabled buses, not disabled buses, buses for disabled persons, shall I say. And that is of the new buses. So just to reiterate, it was 50 buses. 5 of the buses are electric for testing. 40 are the CNG, compressed natural gas, which is LNG, and that's 5 45-seaters. And the electric buses are also 45-seaters. And then, of course, 5 buses to facilitate disabled persons, which are also 34 seats from the 45. So the Portmore Depot will get 3 34-seater buses for the facilitate disabled, 17 49-seater regular buses, and 20 of the new buses. So the total allocation for Portmore back to school is 120 units, consisting obviously of active, rehabilitated buses and new buses. Spanish Town, that's a Spanish Town Depot, 2 34-seater buses for disabled, 15 regular 49-seaters, which will see a total allotment of 99 units, consisting of active, rehabilitated and new buses. And Rockfort Depot, 5 34-seater buses and 8 49-seater buses, a total allocation of 96 buses for that particular depot. There also are improvements for the hill routes, which are routes 83, 52, 53, and 54, which consist of the St. Andrew Hills, which goes all the way up to Temple Hall, up above Constant Springs, Stony Hill, and of course, Papine, going up towards Gordon Town and interior areas that are served. That has also been an area of major discontent. So the routes, as I said, to Papine from Halfway Tree will see improvement and overall waiting times reduced, obviously depending on traffic congestion. And of course, again, I want to commend the JUTC staff. The other thing that will be done, which I'm going to ask the chairman of the Transport Authority to just get into some detail, is you would have seen a flyer going out recent days inviting all coaster operators using and passing through the Halfway Tree area to meet with the Transport Authority, the National Works Agency, and the Jamaica Constabulary Force to discuss the repurposing of the Transport Center, Phase 2. That meeting is scheduled for August 30th, 2023, and it will be at 12 o'clock at the Halfway Tree Transport Center. You'll recall that I paid a visit there recently, and I can confirm, based on discussions with the Transport Authority, that there's going to be definitely some improvements, not only in the logistics of the transport center, but in the actual transport center itself. It is badly in need of a facelift, and it has some issues in relation to the elevator and some other electrical issues, not to mention, obviously, making it more comfortable for the passengers. Lastly, but by no means least, before I am asked, let me just give a quick update on the steering committee, which was formed recently and named recently, of the transport stakeholders to deal with issues, pressing issues in the transport sector. So we had the first steering committee just a little under 2 weeks ago, and that committee again met yesterday. The report was that the group put together a proposal to fine-tune fare adjustments, which will be concluded with a meeting on Thursday. That will set the stage for recommendations to come through the process, as I know that that is a pressing matter, that along with other issues. So again, the whole issue, the burning issue of a fare increase, is going to be finally dealt with in terms of how it is handled, which means coming up with the formula that will dictate what is the reason for the need for a fare increase. And then, of course, what I've also asked is, instead of it being done ad hoc, that a review or a timeline for reviews are done, whether it's annually, biannually, whatever the formula is best, so that we can have something in place rather than it just being ad hoc and coming to the minister from different organizations, different formulas, different figures. everybody agrees on this template in relation to what are the inputs that are required to happen to allow to trigger a traffic review, a fine, a fare increase review. So I won't hold up much longer. I will just ask if Chairman Ellington can come and just give a quick overview in relation to the activities that will take place and the agenda for that meeting and what is it that we are trying to achieve, which again will all augur well for the transport sector.
Thank you, Minister. Ministers, members of the media, good morning. Consistent with the objective of Minister Vaz for us to roll out an improved system of public transportation, not just for the metro region, but right across Jamaica, the Transport Authority has embarked on a number of projects. And one of them has to do with how we rationalize traffic around the halfway tree area, and in particular public transportation. Some weeks ago, an effort was made to relocate some of the coaster buses that normally set down and pick up passengers along the roadways in the live lanes to the transport center. The assessment of that shows that it has been working pretty well, and that there is capacity within the transport center to accommodate more buses. So under serious consideration, and which is to be discussed this afternoon at midday at a meeting with transport operators, is a proposal to relocate buses that come down from Constant Spring Road and Red Hills Road and have them set down and pick up passengers inside of the transport center, and to create additional stands for taxis in and around the halfway tree area, particularly along North Odeon Avenue in front of the Mandela Park, and where they are now, which is the Spencer James Avenue. In support of this, we intend to erect a lot of directional signs in and around the area. These are signs that will guide commuters as to where they can go to board vehicles to their destinations in and around the corporate area. There will also be signs directing public transport operators as to the new locations that they may be required to use to set down and pick up passengers. The general idea is to prevent buses and taxis from stopping in and blocking live lanes as they seek to put down and pick up passengers, as well as to prevent commuters from having to walk long distances and cross the street, oftentimes putting their safety at risk in order to board taxis and buses. What we want is a system that enables transfer from one modality to the other, all taking place inside of the transport center. And as I said before, capacity is there for it. We intend also to reconstruct the safety guardrails along the roadways inside of Halfway Tree to enhance commuter safety. And we also intend to have monitors inside of the transport center to time manage the vehicles that come inside there so that there's no clogging of the space. We will time the vehicles once they come in, set down passengers, and we will instruct them as to when they should move on in order to free up the space inside of the transport center. As I said before, these are proposals. They are up for discussion with the transport operators today at midday, and we're hopeful that the outcome of these discussions will be an agreement by all for us to move forward with it. There are some concerns from operators about the risk of extortion activities in the center. We have invited the Police High Command. We've spoken to the Deputy Commissioner in charge of crime to send members of the organized crime branch to the center as well, because we are going to commence immediately an assessment of the potential for criminal activities impeding our efforts. And we are committed to taking every step within the law to prevent it from happening. So I want to assure the operators, assure members of the commuting public and Jamaicans generally that we are doing all that is necessary to promote safe, reliable, secure, efficient public transportation and at the same time balancing the concerns of operators with the needs of commuters. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairman Ellington. Just one last thing that I'm sure is of interest. So, as we said, we had 50 buses that arrived on Friday. And of course, those buses were ordered some time ago through then Minister Montague and then Minister Shaw. So I am the beneficiary of the 50 buses as the new transport minister. But that's not enough. So since I have in office, there is another 20 CNG buses that have been ordered through a framework agreement. We are hoping to get 6 here by November and the other 14 by January of 2024. There is a discussion taking place now. You would recall that Minister Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance, in his budget presentation, had committed the funding for 100 new buses, electric buses, in 24-25 fiscal year and 100 in 25-26 fiscal year. Because of the situation at JUTC now, I'm in active discussions and negotiations with Minister Clark and his team, along with my permanent secretary and the transport team, to see if there's any possibility that order for 100 buses can be done, if the funding is available, before the end of this financial year. Obviously, it has a procurement aspect of it, and I'm hoping that this week, before Friday, I will have that meeting so that we can come up with a final position in relation to how we go forward with a best case scenario of being able to order those buses this financial year, which means with a 6-month lead time, we would be able to get those buses by the first half of 2024. That would do a huge job in improving the transport with newer buses and new buses, bearing in mind that the average age of the fleet at JUTC now is between 12 and 14 years. So you can imagine with the level of usage that those buses would be past their best operating time. So we have an issue in relation to the fleet, and obviously we have started. So again, the government is committed, and obviously with 50 and 20 buses coming between now and the end of this year, this calendar year, that will do a huge bit to improve. And again, I just want to thank the traveling public that uses the public transportation system for their patience and understanding, and a commitment by me and this government that we are going to have the improvements made so that you can travel more efficiently and in better comfort, and most importantly, with a disciplined transport sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Vaz. I would like to now welcome Minister of Education and Youth, the Honorable Favour Williams, who has a presentation for Back to School.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Let me acknowledge Minister Nestor Morgan, Minister of Information. Let me acknowledge as well Minister Vaz. And to say, Minister Vaz, it's welcome news that we're going to have additional buses on the road. And not only that, I welcome the news that the roads will be more policed, if you will. There will be more order as to where people can drop off and pick up and how long they can linger in the spot. So that is welcome news this morning. Let me acknowledge as well Chairman of the Transport Authority, Chairman Ellington, We have here today Ms. Sims from our textbook division. Let me acknowledge members of the teams from the respective ministries, members of the media, Jamaicans all. I want to tender an apology for, I'm sorry, that's not the slide. I want to tender an apology for the permanent secretary and the chief education officer. The Ministry of Education is having their annual strategic review meeting, and that's underway in Montego Bay. All of our senior management is there, and to which I will go directly after this press conference. So for this morning, we want to update you on delivery of textbooks, delivery of school furniture, update on ramps in schools, update on school critical maintenance work, update on teacher resignations. I'll start with the delivery of textbooks. As we've said before, and gladly repeat again, approximately $2 billion have been allocated this fiscal year for textbook purchase, first in some times, at the primary school level, as well as at the secondary school level. The suppliers are busy putting the books out there in the system to our schools, and we are expecting that the bulk of the books, the hardcover textbooks, will be delivered by the end of August. As schools are receiving the textbooks, I'm aware that some schools are saying they are not getting the amount for which they ask, and I've asked for a listing of all schools showing their request versus books distributed, and in order to have some analysis into that, and I'm sure in subsequent press briefings I'll have that information. As you know as well, we introduced e-textbooks, third year in a row, and you can see from the slide exactly what subject areas we have e-textbooks and how many in terms of licenses that we have. And let me stress again that the e-textbooks only need to be downloaded one time. And so after that, it's not dependent on having internet connectivity. We would have worked with schools to identify the students who are able to use the e-textbooks, because of course you would need a device. And so the numbers are on the screen in terms of English language textbooks, 51,998 e-textbooks for grades 7 to 11. Integrated Science, 15,808 for grades 7 to 9. Principles of Accounts, 2,500 for grades 10 to 11. And of course, it's for those students who've indicated that they will be doing Principles of Accounts and Principles of Business, 1,500 for grades 10 to 11. On the matter of furniture, last Friday when I spoke to chairmen and chairwomen across all our regions, I should say last week, because we had 2 different meetings, we updated them as well in terms of furniture going out to school. 3,800 pieces of furniture have been dispatched into our school system. This is a continuous process. We have schools, about 15 of them, that make new desks and chairs for our schools. Some of them also repair existing desks and chairs. The work is year-round. It continues. Ramp construction projects. During the month of August, we received a new list from our principals, and 32 schools indicated that they will have students with special needs and will require the construction of new ramps in about 24 of them, and additional ramps in 8. So as you can imagine, there may be a school that exists that does not have a special needs student, but with students having taken PEP, schools are indicating now whether or not they will need to cater to special needs students. So the procurement work has started, and you know already that many of our schools have ramps and rails, and this is an ongoing project year-round to continue to install ramps and rails in all of our schools so that it doesn't matter which school person with disability is, it will be already there. Additionally, just this fiscal year, $317 million was allocated to electrical upgrading projects and fencing projects. And just to break that down quickly, $244 million was allocated to carry out works in 47 schools in terms of upgrading their electrical. $73 million was allocated for fencing in 56 schools. Again, the maintenance work at our schools is perpetual. It continues. It continues. It does not stop. We have 1,010 schools across Jamaica. The infrastructure of many of our schools is decades old. It does not stop. I'm sorry, could you please take that slide down? That is not a relevant slide for this morning. Minister Morgan, if you could, thank you. And so, all right, so the maintenance work does not stop in our schools. It continues year-round. And so come September morning, Monday morning, when schools resume, you know, we will still be out there doing the work, the maintenance work that's required, and we will continue all year round. And finally, just to provide an update on teacher resignation, the last time I did was on August 18. At that time, I presented that for the period January to September 2022, there were 1,538 resignations, and for the period January to September 2023, there were 427. Those were the numbers presented on August 18. Today, the new numbers, as we're seeing them, and I will give those to you shortly, but I want to say that last night I was listening to an interview on Nationwide with the new president of the JTA, and he admitted that the age-old practice of teachers resigning with no notice is unprofessional, and I agree with him. In fact, it should be known that there is a legal requirement for teachers who are permanent in the system to give 3 months notice, and for those who hold temporary, acting, or provisional positions to give 1 month's notice. And this is all laid out in Section 54 of the Regulation Act of 1980 that has this requirement for 3 months notice. Of note, and I want to stress, teachers who give 3 months notice and continue to work, of course they will be paid. They are not denied their payment. If that happened some long ago in the past, that is not happening now. And so we're asking teachers who make their personal decisions to resign to be mindful of the legal requirement that's here. So just in terms of the actual numbers, and you will recall that the pay date for August was Friday, this past Friday. Everyone in the education sector collected their pay. And so coming into Monday, we saw resignations come in. And if we compare again for the same period, January to September, as of yesterday, the number of resignations, the total would be 854, still a 44% decline from what we saw in the January to September period of 2022. Ahead of the school year, obviously getting notice here a few days before school opens. I can fully understand the uncertainty of our principals or boards across Jamaica, but that is why at least 2-3 weeks ago, we sent to our schools a number of different strategies for them to use to help with the recruitment process. Boards were given pre-approval to make early recruitment decisions. They were given approval to engage part-time teachers, to engage retired teachers, to engage pre-trained graduate teachers, to engage final year student teachers, to redeploy underutilized staff, to merge small classes, to use blocked timetable approach, to increase the use of information communication technology in the classroom. And we have providers who have been piloting their projects. And we are excited about the twinning of technology in the virtual space with our students in the physical space. We also reminded our schools that there are a number of recorded lessons, 1,238 recorded lessons that are there. Additionally, we have implemented our jobs portal, making it easier, a lot easier for schools to advertise the positions that are vacant, and for teachers who are looking to come into the education sector, for them to find the information. I can tell you, in my own personal email, I get resumes from teachers who are looking, and obviously they won't have to send them to me anymore because we have the job portal that they can upload their resumes, and they can also see the profiles of schools and the positions that are available to them. This is the first time we've had this system, this portal, available to the education sector, and we know that it will create significant efficiencies, meaning teachers looking for jobs can find schools that are that have vacancies. So that is available. But there on the screen you will see a chart, and what I want to do is to not only focus on the teachers who are leaving, but to give you a sense of the supply of teachers into the system. Sometimes we lose focus of that in Jamaica we are privileged to have 10 teachers' colleges that are in existence, and they do put out properly trained teachers into the system. The chart may be a little bit much for you to see, but I can read some of the numbers. So coming out of our teachers' colleges, we have 1,123 new teachers. In our Build Out Our Science Teachers program at UWI, we have 10 teachers coming out. The Jamaica-Cuban Teacher Cooperation, 68 teachers. Retired teachers, we're saying to our schools, you can bring back into the school system retired teachers who would like to come back, those who have retired since 2018. And when you look at that pool, about 150 teachers retire every year. That pool potentially would be about 900. We've also said teachers that are about to retire, those teachers can be invited back. There are 150 of those. And then we made some assumptions about the number of part-time teachers, pre-trained teachers, final year teachers, redeployment of underutilized staff, merger of small classes, ICT in school, the youth scholarship program for teachers who are bonded for 5 years, 88 of them. We have allowed voluntary relocation in overstaffed schools, so teachers can move without losing their benefits. They don't have to resign from their existing school. The job portal, we're expecting, because that portal is available widely, we're expecting to see some there. And again, partnering with the providers in terms of their provision in the virtual space, the teacher availability solution. I know for sure that 100 teachers will, 100 schools and teachers will be available there. So in terms of the potential pool of teachers, we have estimated that to be 3,119 as compared to the 854 resignations. But you may say maybe our assumptions are overly positive, overly optimistic, and so in the second column, we've made some adjustments. So even if we adjust the numbers by about 50%, we believe that the pool of teachers available in the system would be about 1,693, compared again to 854 teachers who have resigned. I know it's not easy standing here August 30th, when school is going to open next Monday, to be able to recruit, but we came out with these strategies well ahead of time. Our job bank is available, so we've anticipated that again this year we would witness teachers resigning without giving the due notice. In fact, the legal notice that is required, not doing that simply means that you're not abiding by the law. We want to say ahead of school to all our teachers or principals or boards, we thank you for the work that you did last year to bring us through the school year. Then 1,538 teachers resigned, but you were able to manage all the stakeholders, parents, teachers, principals, everyone. You did a great job in terms of bringing the school system through, and we saw the results. Our PEP results were better, and as we scrutinize the CSEC and CAPE results, those results are better as well. So I want to thank all of you for the work that you do, and I know that we will make it through the upcoming school year as well, because the ministry stands ready. We have anticipated, we've given the strategies, we've given pre-approval for boards and principals to act, but at the same time, we will continue to provide additional resources to help our schools to ensure that we make it smoothly through this upcoming school year. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Minister Williams. Just want to ask you, could you repeat the whole narrative regarding the teacher resignations? I think it's important for the public, because there were a lot of discussions between Monday and yesterday regarding a crisis in education and a lack of teachers. So I just want you, for the public's sake, to reiterate.
Right. So the chart that was not shown this morning is an important chart, because in that chart, what I showed was that in the school system now, today, we have 25,000, approximately 25,000 teachers still in our school system. 854 have resigned. So if you assume a static number of 25,000 and you take away 854, you can see how many are remaining. And then I walked you through the supply of new teachers into the system.
But your supply is more than your demand.
Absolutely.
So there are more teachers available for employment than spaces available in the system.
This is what our numbers are showing us. And I know there will be the argument that, math teachers, English teachers, and so are the important ones in the system where we may have gaps. And yes, I would agree, and we need to ensure that we're aggressive in terms of offering scholarships for those very important areas. We do it now in terms of the sciences, maths and science. I told you we have a relationship with UWI. When we recruit Cuban teachers as well, it's not only language. We bring in teachers who are, can teach maths and other subjects. But going forward, we will ensure that our scholarships are targeted to those areas of greatest need.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I'll now open the floor for members of the media who wish to ask questions. Do we have any questions?
Good morning. My name is Shalois Michael. I'm from Nationwide News. We love to hear that plans are in place to, or rather that there are systems in place to replace those teachers. But there has been a suggestion by, I think it was the JAPS president, who was suggesting that we use the sixth form students to teach the lower students until these gaps are filled. What are your thoughts on this?
Right, so I heard that suggestion, and those sixth form students would probably fall in the category called pre-trained teachers. I don't know. There is a place in our schools in which they can be used. If you look at the teacher replacement strategy that's offered by some of our ed tech companies, in which they have expert teachers in the virtual space and students in their classrooms in the physical space, there will be a need for a monitor for that class. So the sixth form students could be the monitor. They won't be the teacher, but you will need someone in the classroom to ensure order.
They already perform that role.
Yeah,
though.
they do.
They're prefects,
schools,
they're
yes.
senior prefects in schools.
They do. They help with discipline in the schools. They help with a lot of activities in our schools. I hear it from our principals, especially when I ask them about the students in the sixth form pathways program. They tell me good news. They tell me that they see these students take on a role of responsibility that is amazing. So, I would not put down sixth form students at all. They're at the end, they're almost graduating to go on to tertiary or to go into the world of work. Many of them are very responsible. Our sixth form pathways 1 students are our best and brightest. So there can be a place for those who choose to come back in. It's not a requirement.
Good morning, ministers. Sashana Small from the Jamaica Gleaner. Just to clarify, the number of teachers that resigned were from January to September to August?
Okay.
The 854.
We're saying as of yesterday, the number of resignations that we have received, when you look at the period January to September 2023, and remember there are teachers who have resigned effective September. So this is the data that I have standing here this morning, that there are 854 teachers who would have resigned over that period, January to September 2023. Of course, the bulk of that would have been since Friday after they collected their paychecks.
Okay.
But remember, we are comparing like time with like. So
Right.
we're comparing January to September 2022 to January to September 2023.
Right. And that number in 2022 was 1,538.
Okay, thank you. What I want to know then is, since that time, if any of those positions have been refilled since January.
Of course.
Do you have that figure?
No, I don't have that figure with me, but positions have been filled. Remember, we have teachers coming out of our teachers' colleges. Yes.
There are many teachers from last year who I have a family member who is a graduate of Michael, and many of his classmates who graduated last year could not find jobs. So there is a reservoir of unemployed teachers, and I think that's the big story. So while it is that, Minister will tell you, we have teachers migrating, which is their right, they're resigning, they're seeking better opportunities, we still do not have enough spaces within the public education system, based on the resignations, to accommodate every single teacher who is leaving Teachers College. Okay. We may have a challenge with English and math, but there are numerous other subjects, geography, English literature, all those other subjects, where we do not have the space to accommodate all the teachers who leave Teachers College.
And so our job bank, our job portal, will give us a repository in terms of the teachers who are looking, because they're going to be eager to upload their resumes, and we can help to better direct them to the schools that are in need of teachers. And I see Charlene shaking her head. Thank you so much for the work that you've done on the job bank, the job portal that we have.
Okay, thank you, Minister. I have a few more questions. The e-textbooks, how much money has the MOE spent on e-textbooks licenses for this year?
Okay. Ms. Sims, do you have that number handy? Yes.
No, you can.
Good morning. We spent approximately $158 million on ebooks. Thank you.
Thank you. I've spoken to a number of principals who are telling me that the students aren't adapting to the ebooks as they would like. So what I want to find out if there is any kind of program or initiative from the MOE to encourage students to utilize these books more.
Okay. Ever since I came to the Ministry of Education and Youth, one of the things that parents and others have clamored for is ebooks. At the time, we didn't have them, and we seemed as if we were way behind in not having ebooks. We allocated resources to ebooks. We sent out information to our schools with regards to the license, how to download the license. We worked with our schools because they're the ones who identify the students who are able to use the ebooks, because you have to have a device. So it's not as if we blindly sent out the ebooks to the schools, but when we check, because we're able to see who has downloaded and who has not, as you said, the adoption rate is disappointing. Yes, now we have to take it on as the central ministry to begin to put some PR and communication behind it, to have some sensitization sessions with our students, because they will be the ones required to log on to their MOEY email and download the ebook. And again, I say it's just one download, one time that you have to download it. You will have it until the license expire, which you'll have it for a whole year. We want to encourage our children to avail themselves of this. For one, it is way cheaper than the paper textbooks, so that means more of our students can have access to textbooks. And I'm happy to use this platform this morning to encourage our parents as well to help their children, to inquire about it, and to all our principals across our schools, remind our students in devotion, in their classrooms, of the availability of the ebooks in those subject areas that I showed earlier.
Thank you. Final question, I think, Minister. The national grooming policy that is to be published before September 4, has it been published? And there has been calls for sanctions for schools, principals who do not adhere to the new guidelines under this policy. What is your reaction? Will there be sanctions?
So the draft policy should be on our website by now, and information should have gone out to all our schools. Remember that this policy was in the consultative process all during the last school year. We're just making a final push to to ensure that as many persons as possible see it. We again are saying to our principals, you cannot, you should not. It is not a policy of the government or of the Ministry of Education to lock out or send home kids who show up and they're not in compliance 100%. There are other ways. We have to change behavior. You have to ensure as school leaders you're consultative in all that you do, so you get higher buy-in from parents who can monitor and ensure that their children show up. We have in-school activities that students can do. There may be detention or something like that, but there are other ways other than the drastic lockout of students from schools.
Sanctioned for doing that?
Well,
for locking out students?
now with the policy, the draft policy in place, as soon as we finalize it, we're going to have to think about that, because you're putting children in danger when you lock them out. You're denying them education as well.
I think that's it. And no more questions. All right. Thank you very much, Minister, for joining us this morning at the post-cabinet press briefing. Also want to thank members of the media who came and asked your questions, as well as members of the public who would have listened and seen the presentations this morning. Also want to thank Minister Vaz and also the chairman of the Island Traffic Authority who were here earlier. Until next week, Wednesday, 8 o'clock sharp. See you then for another post-cabinet press briefing. Have a wonderful and safe day.
The government of Jamaica, your government, is committed to guaranteeing social protection for our most vulnerable citizens. Through PATH, the Program of Advancement through Health and Education, we provide critical social assistance to needy households, especially those with children, pregnant and breastfeeding women, persons with disabilities, and elderly dependents.
Beneficiaries of the PATH program receive bi-monthly cash grants, back-to-school and tuition grants, and examination fee assistance. Participants are included in the Steps to Work program, the Ministry of Education's school feeding program, among others. We invite you to apply for the assistance your family needs. Visit your parish office and apply today. Remember to bring your children's birth certificate, TRN, and a government-issued ID.
Your Ministry of Labour and Social Security partners with the Ministry of Education and Youth and Health and Wellness to provide several programs for our PATH beneficiaries. We want to help. We care. Apply today.
For more information on PATH, visit our website at www.mlss.gov.jm or call us at 876-922-8007 or visit any of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security parish offices island-wide. PATH, serving you since 2002.
PATH beneficiaries, as we prepare to head back to school, I know that many of our families are concerned about covering the educational expenses for the new school year. I want to assure you that your government and the Ministry of Labour and Social Security are aware of the issues, and we have made provisions to assist you with back-to-school expenses. Families will receive between $3,800 and $5,600 for each child registered in a government educational institution between grades 1 to 13. Along with this regular benefit payment, you will receive an additional $3,500 for each child registered in a government school to assist you with back-to-school expenses.
Remember, if your child is starting a new school, you must visit the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's office in your parish to notify us and ensure your benefits are not disrupted. We also have 2 additional benefits that the Ministry provides which can assist your children's education after completing secondary school. PATH students who are pursuing a bachelor's degree can receive tertiary bursaries of $100,000 per year for up to 4 years of study, providing that they maintain a grade point average of at least 2.5 and meet all the other requirements stipulated by the institution.
I invite you to visit the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's website at mlss.gov.jm for more information on how your family can access benefits under PATH, the Program of Advancement through Health and Education. You may also call us at 876-922-8007 or visit any of our parish offices. Our team will be more than happy to assist you. We are here to help you.